This is Trenton from American Dream Vacations. I'm going to give you an orientation, generic instruction on these travel trailer. Hopefully a lot of this will translate to what you have at home or what you're using out in the field. If not, leave me some feedback, okay? A lot of your doors will have some type of bracket on there to pin the door open. These are handy in high wind situations so that the door won't slam shut and break the lock. So do use those, rely on those. Most of your steps are going to be retracted or pulled out and extended manually. None of the trailers that we've used have any type of locks on these. They just pull out or store in place. Be sure to drive with them up, right? Your awning nowadays on most vehicles is automatic. Okay, it'll be operated inside with a push button. If you have a manual on yours, please see my other video on how to open and operate an awning. You have an outside refrigerator vent here. Disregard this for the time being. We'll talk about the refrigerator when we go inside. This is primarily for servicing and access. Here you have a furnace exhaust. This does get hot when the furnace is on. Be careful. Some have screens over them, and that's to keep mud daubers out. But there's nothing to do out here. You do have a 110 outlet here. You can plug in anything you'd like, a radio, fan, light, etc. This is only active when the trailer itself is plugged into park power or shore power. This is a cable outlet, which is on the door side. So if you were to plug in a television, you could actually watch TV outside. Note, this is not where you'll be plugging in when you get to an RV park, okay? You have fresh water fill, which can be located in various positions around the trailer, sometimes on the driver's side, or in this case on the passenger side. More often than not, they do have a twist-on cap, and all you do to fill this is remove the cap, put the hose in, and when it's full, water will pour out. Now, in order to use your onboard water tank, you're going to turn the water pump on inside, which is a push of a button. I'll explain that to you when we go inside. Use the helicopter now. I'll explain that when we go inside. I'll show you where that's at, and we'll talk more about that later. Okay. You have a grab handle here that needs to be folded away from the door when traveling, back to your door stop, and then again your manual steps. Okay. You're going to have more than likely one key for all your compartments, a little latch that holds the compartments open, and on this particular trailer you have pass-through storage. Okay. You may find different types of cranks in the front storage. This particular crank is going to be for manual override on the electric jack systems. It can also be used for manual slide-out control. You may see, if you have a socket style crank, it's more than likely for your manual jacks, or it could be for an electric tongue jack at the front of the trailer, which we'll get to in just a moment. On this trailer, you have an electric tongue jack, you have a light here, and then you have up and down operation. Some trailers may be equipped with a manual jack, okay? Your propane bottles are typically located at the front of the vehicle. You may have some type of access on the top of your propane cover, or you may simply have to remove the cover to access your propane bottles. This particular vehicle has two large bottles. It has a regulator in the center. Note that I do have a video on propane systems on our channel, so see that for further information. This regulator is currently pointing to the bottle on the left. The bottle is open, and the propane, remind you, will power and feed the stove, oven, water heater, regular heater, and refrigerator when you have no power. So that's right, your fridge will stay cold while towing, and we'll elaborate on that later. Okay, so if you ever run out of propane, you can simply switch the regulator over to the other bottle, then open that particular bottle, okay? And you will need to bleed the lines or burp the lines, get the air out of the lines. Again, something covered in my propane video, or I'll elaborate when we go inside, okay? Over here behind the propane bottles, you have a 12-volt battery that stays with the trailer. This powers the 12-volt system in the trailer, which is for lights, water heater, water pump, refrigerator, stereo in some cases, awning and slide outs. Okay, this battery will charge itself when plugged in at shore power at the park, or when towing using the 7-round light connection, which is standard. And this is again assuming that your truck has the charge line. So don't worry too much about that battery. Other side of the storage, sometimes you'll find your hoses and things located in here. We'll talk about your onboard equipment when we get to it, okay? This particular trailer has an electric jack function. Some have manual jacks, which are cranked down at each of the 4 corners. This one here is operated with a switch, and it controls both front jacks. Okay, so real quick, before you operate the jacks, you need to make sure that the trailer is level front to back using your electric tongue jack. And so you're actually going to disconnect the trailer from the truck first and foremost. Then you can operate these jacks. 9 times out of 10, these jacks are designed for stability only, not to be used for leveling purposes, okay? So in this particular unit, you're going to hold the button in the extend position until your jacks come down. And once this jack hits the ground, the other side begins to lower. So they will compensate for each other, okay? And again, once they're nice and snug, go ahead and stop there. You don't want to lift the trailer. In some cases, it may be suggested to put boards under the jacks where they hit the ground to increase your surface area and just become more stable, especially if you're in soft ground like sand or mud, okay? And then moving on, you have your water heater panel here. This is an electric or gas water heater. Both are operated from the inside. We'll talk about that later. This area does get hot. Be careful. It does only heat 6 gallons of water at a time, so it's not very much. It reheats water in 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. You, in most cases, should not have to access this panel. There is a reset button here. Look forward to future videos on how to do that. And here on this particular unit, you have an on-off switch, which is the electric function. Right now in the off position, this is going to operate with gas only. And again, this will be turned on and off from inside the trailer. We'll talk about that later, okay? Down below, you have your sewer connections. These are 9 times out of 10 located on the driver's side. They can be in front of the slide out, in front of the wheels, behind the wheels. But on this particular trailer, it's the rear driver's side. You'll find that you'll have 1 or 2 outlets looking like this with a cap on it. Go ahead and twist left on the cap. You're going to locate your sewer hose, which could be in the rear bumper, in a storage compartment, or maybe you just need to get one. But you go ahead and put it on. Once you've removed the cap, go ahead and put the hose over the outlet, twist right to lock it in place. You're going to run the hose out into the ground at the dump station, okay? You're going to encounter 2 types of dump stations, either a centralized dump station, which you'll find more commonly at your state parks and national parks, which means you pull in, you connect, you dump, and you leave, or each site would have its own dump site and connection, which means you can leave the hose connected at all times. Okay, regardless, the dump process will be the same. You have a black valve here, which is typically your larger valve, which corresponds with the toilet water and wastewater solids. You have the smaller valve, which is the gray water for sink and shower. It's typically soapy water. So you're going to go ahead and release the black water first by pulling the valve out. It will extend 6 to 9 inches. Waste will flow out through the hose. You can hear it and see the hose move. Open that valve, leave it open until it's empty, and then you can pull and extend the gray valve, which again is soapy water. It'll clean the hose out, okay? Once you're finished, you can go ahead and shut off both valves. You're going to want to go ahead and go inside, recharge your tanks with some chemical and water. We'll talk about that later. Be sure that if you're connected at all times that you do not leave the valves open. The problem with this is that liquids drain, solids stay, and you can potentially clog up your system. The other problem is that you could get gas feedback and it could vent into the unit, stinking up inside. So if you're connected at all times, use your monitor panel inside to determine at what point you need to empty the tanks, and periodically come outside, open the valves, empty them, close them to begin reusing them. Okay, look for future videos on dumping and how-tos. This particular trailer has a light so you can empty the tanks at night. You have an outside shower on this particular vehicle, which is nothing more than a shower head at the end of a hose, hot and cold water knobs. They're great to be used when cleaning up in this area, cleaning up at the beach, your charcoal hens when grilling, cleaning fish. Very functional. Use it, enjoy it. You have a city water connection here, which is where you're actually going to connect at the RV park, and you're going to connect your fresh water hose, guys. On this trailer, the fresh water hose is stored back here. You have a brass cylinder. This is a pressure regulator. This keeps your lines from bursting when you're at a park with high water pressure, okay? So keep that in line, use it. Be aware of what the water pressure is at the RV park. That can go either at the connection at the trailer or at the water faucet at the park, okay? But nonetheless, when you get there, you'll connect the water hose to the park faucet or water bib, and then to the trailer here, okay? Turn the water on and leave it. You have incoming pressure. It's essentially unlimited water. Note that this will not refill your onboard water tank, and you do not need your water pump to be turned on to use water, okay? So you do have an electrical adapter here, which is going to reduce the electrical connection down from a standard 30 amp service to the 15 amp, which is a 110 connection. Note that these adapters are not designed to run the air conditioner and will not sustain the air conditioner, okay? This is primarily used for wintertime usage, using 12 volt heaters, charging the batteries, maintaining a charge. So please use them properly, know what kind of connection to expect and where you're going. Again, 30 amp is required for single air conditioner vehicles or vehicles with a single air conditioning unit. All right, so here at the rear of the trailer are located the rear jack controls. They're going to work the same way as the front. Extend until one foot hits, the other side will come down. Remind you, they're for stability only, not leveling, and you may need to put boards under there where they come in contact with the ground, okay? Remember that before you leave the park, the jacks come up first, then you attach the trailer to the truck by adjusting the front tongue jack. Okay, that's the process. On this trailer, the sewer hose will be located in the bumper, and you can see the connection at the end of the hose, okay? Typically at your rear driver's side somewhere, you have a cable connection. This is your incoming cable. So when you're at an RV park that provides cable, you bring your own coax, you plug in at the park, plug in into the trailer, and you've got incoming cable. We'll elaborate on that later to explain how to get cable feed and channels, okay?
Okay, go.
Here's your electrical connection. This particular trailer has the connection on the back. Some are going to be on the rear driver's side, but more often than not, it's a little hatch like so, and they're typically a 25-foot 30 amp cord, as you can see here. When storing it, just simply push into the trailer. It will wind itself up, and then to use it or extend the cable, just simply pull out until it stops, okay? The cord plug-in looks like so. This is your standard 30 amp service. Again, this corresponds with vehicles with one air conditioner. That's the most common connection found. And just to be clear, this is 110 to 125 volts, what you're used to, but it is double the ampage. It's 30 amps. You need all 30 amps to run the AC. Okay, so when you get to the park, go ahead and plug in like so. Oftentimes at the park, you'll find a breaker located around where you've connected. You be sure to engage that so that you've got power to the trailer, and make sure that your air conditioning is, or air conditioner is off before plugging or unplugging. Okay, let's go inside the trailer.